If you drink 70 cups of coffee, a large amount of caffeine will kill you instantly. But just a couple of tablespoons of caffeine powder could be a lot more dangerous. A single tablespoon of caffeine powder is equal to 28 cups of coffee. In 2019, a distracted man accidentally mixed way too much caffeine powder in his drink, which equaled to more than 200 cups of coffee. This made his heart beat in an extremely fast rhythm, and the man started to foam from his mouth moments before he died.
If you get tied up with a rope, tense your muscles and inhale a lot of air into your lungs. This will make your body take up more space and you'll be able to escape easily. If you're lost in the middle of the ocean, look for a mirror or a metal object. You can use them to reflect the sunlight and signal for help. If you're in a public bathroom and there's no toilet paper, run to a store and ask for gift wrapping. You'll spend a lot of money, but you won't run out of toilet paper. If a dog attacks you, throw your backpack or jacket on the ground. This will distract the dog and give you time to escape.
You go on your first trip alone without your parents. Do this so you do not look ridiculous. On your way to the airport, send your mom your flight number. Take good photos of your passport and ID just in case. And use Duolingo to learn phrases from the local language. How to say hello, ask for directions, and order some food. On the other hand, you'll also use Google Translate, so you are able to translate things offline. And also download movies and podcasts so you don't get bored during the flight. Finally, in your suitcase, do not forget to bring a neck pillow, a portable battery, and subscribe to Big Dan Baby.
If you're on a date but you've got a pimple, don't go and burst it. Your face will get infected and so red that you'll look ridiculous. If you're completely lost in the desert during a really heavy sandstorm, cover your head using your shirt. The sand could easily get into your eyes and lungs and you'll die instantly. If you are traveling in an airplane, don't activate Wi-Fi on your mobile. The signal will send interference to the plane and it will get confused. If you come across some workers on the street, don't look at them for too long. The sparks flash with a light so strong that you'll go blind.
If your front door is open and there are scratch marks on the lock, lock the door completely and call the police. A group of burglars are trapped inside your house. If you travel to a European country, don't ask people where the tourist spots are. Criminals will think you're a tourist and rob you. If you find a lot of large eggs in your house, call the police. A mother snake has invaded your home. If you're lost in the desert and have nothing to eat, look for brown worms in the sand. They're high in protein and easy to find. If terrorists hijack your plane with bombs, don't try to be a hero to save everyone. The terrorists will get angry with you and you'll be the first to die. If you have a dog and you're traveling to China, don't take it with you. If you get distracted for a moment, they might try to cook it so they can eat it later. If you're in the desert and see a hole in the sand, don't go near it to look. It could be the home of a venomous spider, and if it bites you, you won't make the hospital. If you're swimming in the sea and see dark clouds in the distance, get out of the water even if they're really far. If lightning strikes, the electricity travels so fast through the water that you'll be burned alive. If you're at an amusement park and a ride has a minimum height requirement, don't try to cheat by standing on your tiptoes. The safety harness won't fit you properly and you could have an accident. If you're really tired and your boss thinks you're sleeping at work, put on some sunglasses and say your eyes hurt. That way you can sleep and not get fired. If you're in the gym and the treadmill suddenly starts speeding up for no reason, don't try to turn it off while running. Instead, grab the handrails and jump to the side. If you're being chased by someone with a knife and you get cornered, take off your shirt and throw it over the blade. It'll dull the knife's edge and you'll be able to escape.
If someone attempts to suffocate you with a pillow, just turn your head to one side and you will get a small opening to breathe. If you're kidnapped and locked inside the car's trunk, simply disconnect the brake light cables to get the police to stop the car, and kick the door as hard as you can to draw attention. Even if you don't have cell phone coverage, you can always contact 911 for an emergency, as your phone will be connected to the nearest power tower. If you come across a large pack of wolves, don't move. They will only attack if they scare you enough to make you run. Even if you're about to die of thirst, never consume large amounts of cold snow. If your stomach suddenly freezes up, you could die of hypothermia. First, get the snow melted and then drink with caution.
If you're at school and you see some bullies harassing some little kid, don't help him because they will beat you up. Instead, record a video for YouTube and the police will send them to jail. If you're lost in the ocean, don't drink seawater. You'll vomit and instantly dehydrate. If you've been abducted by a group of terrorists, hide your designer clothes and luxury items. If they realize that you're a rich kid, they will call your family and demand a huge ransom. If you're fat and can't lose weight, eat a lot of fruit. You'll fill your belly very fast and you won't feel hungry. A town in the United States started to notice a strange smell in the 1970s. The water had a bitter taste and people started getting sick. But what they didn't know was that their homes had been built on top of a toxic waste dump. Decades before the town was built, 20,000 tons of chemical waste had been buried underground by a nuclear laboratory. When construction of the town began, the waste started seeping into basements, gardens, and the water supply. The disaster led to the urgent evacuation of the entire neighborhood, and many families suffered long-term health effects. If you win the lottery, don't buy luxury clothes or cars. Everyone will suspect you have a lot of money and thieves will steal from you. If a construction building mysteriously appears in your neighborhood out of nowhere, check if the workers are wearing construction clothes and carrying tools. They are probably building a giant bomb to blow up your neighborhood. If you're driving and fall into a lake, don't waste time trying to open the door. It's impossible due to the water pressure. Instead, lower the window and swim out. If you're lost in the middle of the ocean and catch a sunfish, do not eat it. It has such a strong venom that it'll kill you instantly. The water began to recede rapidly, leaving the sea floor visible. People were confused and started to realize the huge wave approaching the shore. It was a giant tsunami caused by an underwater earthquake. As the wave approached, it grew in height, reaching 30 meters in several areas. It swept through the city with enormous force, destroying everything around it. The wave wiped out entire neighborhoods, leaving only rubble and destruction. More than 160,700 people lost their lives in this region alone.
Your teacher announces the best and worst grades from the last exam. It turns out you got the best one. This is what you did. During university, I decided to try a trick called memory. I took my notes, and the night before an exam, I reviewed all the material for 30 minutes. Then I put away the notes, took out a blank sheet, and wrote down everything I could remember. When I finished, I used a red pen to write down everything I had forgotten. I repeated the process until I memorized everything and subscribed to BigDanBaby. Foods that were invented by accident. In the 20th century, a 16-year-old boy worked at his father's restaurant, and one day he left a burger on the grill for too long, and it burned. To try to fix it, he put a piece of cheese on top, and that's how the first cheeseburger was born. Now, chocolate chip cookies. A woman was making chocolate-flavored cookies for her son when she ran out of cocoa powder, so she improvised and added pieces of chocolate into the dough, thinking they would melt. But they didn't melt, and they turned out perfect. These are two foods invented by accident. First, French fries. In 1853, a chef was fed up with customers complaining about how he cooked the potatoes, so as revenge, he decided to cook them much more than usual. But the plan backfired because when he did it, people love how they turned out. Second, cheese. More than 4,000 years ago, an Arab merchant was carrying milk during a very long journey and decided that the best thing was to store it inside a goat's stomach. But with the heat and the liquids that stomach contained, the milk turned into cheese, and it became famous all over the world. How long would you survive if you only ate these foods? If you only ate hot sauce, you'd last only 5 days because your stomach would basically melt from the strong acid. If you only ate chocolate, you could last about 1 or 2 months. It has a few nutrients, but ironically, you'd die from malnutrition and severe diabetes. If you only ate instant noodles, you'd survive around a year. They have a ton of salt, which would turn your heart into a ticking time bomb. If you only ate chicken nuggets, you'd live around 15 years since the fried breading is full of bad cholesterol. But if you only ate Big Macs, you could last about 20 years because they actually have many nutrients, but not the best kind. Lastly, if you only ate pizza, you'd survive around 30 years, but it's just dough and greasy stuff, so you'd die really overweight.
If you ever get kidnapped, here's what you should do. Don't scream for help. Instead, shout fire. People often react more if they hear fire instead of help. Try to drop any personal items like a watch, a shoe, or a ring. This can help the police track your location. If you can still see, watch for major landmarks, like parks, train stations, or famous buildings to memorize where they are taking you. If you can't see, rely on your other senses. Try to listen for sounds or remember strange smells, and keep track of the number of turns while you count how long you're traveling. Experts say your best chance to escape is within the first 24 hours, so inhale a lot of air so they don't tie you too tight. If they are using zip ties, use your teeth to tighten them even more. Then lift your hands above your head and slam them against your knees. The pressure will make them snap easily. When the kidnappers eventually leave the room, try to slip out of your restraint and start running as fast as you can. If you're trying to be funny by making a joke about bald people, don't do it in public. There's a good chance you're near some bodybuilders, and most of them are pretty bald. If you suddenly inherit a lot of money, don't tell your family. Your cousins and brothers will come asking for cash. If you buy a giant television, never throw the box in the trash. If thieves come across the box, they'll break in to steal your TV. If you're staying in a suspicious hotel, turn off the lights and examine the eyes in every painting. They might have hidden cameras to spy on you in secret. Do this so your child eats healthy. When he turns 6 years old, you'll buy him lots of junk food like McDonald's or pizzas, along with a small glass of milk. Your child will be very happy, but he doesn't know that he's lactose intolerant. So right after eating, he'll run to the bathroom with explosive diarrhea, and he'll think the stomach pain is caused by the junk food. Now, you'll prepare him healthy food, but with a glass of lactose-free milk. When he finishes eating and drinks his normal milk, he'll feel great, and he'll hate pizza and burgers forever. If you're at your rich friend's house and break something, don't try to hide it. They have security cameras all over the house and they'll catch you. If you're at the beach and bury your whole body in the sand, don't even think about doing it near the water. If the tide comes in, you'll drown. If you're not home and need to charge your phone, don't use public USB outlets. It's a trick that hackers use to steal your information. If you're alone in a movie theater and a stranger sits right next to you for no reason, pretend you're getting a phone call and change seats. They are most likely a child kidnapper. How to spot a fake friend. Make a small, unimportant mistake in front of your friend. The imposter in the group will try to humiliate you in front of others. If you're suspicious of a friend, ask them for a very simple favor. It's very likely they'll come up with a cheap excuse that's easy to check. On the other hand, if a friend laughs at you in front of people you don't know, they're just trying to gain social approval without caring about your feelings. Lastly, if your friends make plans but always forget to include you, don't ask for permission to go. Remember, it's better to be alone than in bad company. In 2012, a prisoner escaped from jail using ketchup. Every day, he saved his portion from the prison cafeteria, even stealing extra from other inmates. He combined it with other ingredients until he created a powerful acid, which he applied to the steel bars of his cell. The acidity was so strong that it gradually corroded the metal, weakening the bars little by little. And after 6 months, the prisoner was able to bend them with ease. He jumped down through the window while the guards were distracted and hid inside a supply truck, finally escaping. But a few days later, they found him hiding in the trash, and they stopped handing out ketchup in the prison food.
A man was buried in a grave with a glass panel placed right above his face. For years, people could walk right up to his grave and look 2 meters underground, seeing his face through the window. He did this because he had a deep fear of being buried alive. And to be safe, he also installed a bell connected to a rope, just in case he needed to signal that he was still alive. But little by little, dirt and moisture gradually covered the entire glass, hiding both the man and his fears forever.
How to always win at Uno. Never play a +2 or a +4 at the beginning of the game. It's very likely your opponent will have another +2 and you'll end up drawing 6 cards. If a player only has 2 cards left, talk to them about something interesting. When it's their turn, they'll be distracted by the conversation and forget to say Uno. On the other hand, if you have 2 cards left and one is a color change card, never choose the color of your last card, because the other players will do everything they can to change it again. Finally, if the player to your right only has 1 card left and no one can change the color, pretend to drop your cards on the table. All the other players will see your cards, but they'll also figure out which number you need to change the color. If you're in danger, do this to call for help. First, make the universal signal for distress. Raise your hand with the palm facing out, fold your thumb across your palm, and repeatedly close your fingers over your thumb. This signal was created for women to ask for help in cases of abuse, but nowadays all police recognize it as a common sign of distress. Second, many restaurants and bars have a secret code to ask for help. If you say angel shot, it means you need help getting to your car. Angel shot spicy means that you need an Uber, and angel shot with lime means you need police assistance. Lastly, if you can't move, use the rule of 3 repetitions to call for help. Make 3 quick flashes or 3 knocks on the table to signal an SOS emergency rescue. A man jumped into a fiery volcano in front of a large crowd. This man was convinced he was a god and wanted to give everyone proof. And he thought that jumping into an active volcano would demonstrate his immortality. But instead of proving that he was a god, the man just vanished into the fire and lava. Later, the volcano spit out one of his shoes, confirming that he had died and that he wasn't actually a god after all.
A fan threw an object that looked like a very convincing rubber bat on stage during the concert, and on impulse, the singer Ozzy Osbourne picked it up and took a bite, believing it was a toy. But to his surprise, the bat turned out to be real. When he ripped its head off with his teeth, he realized his mistake. When noticing the bat's blood entering his mouth, they urgently took him to the hospital right after the concert ended to inject the antidote against rabies.
How to always win at tic-tac-toe. If at the start of the game you go in the center and your opponent doesn't mark a corner, you've automatically won. Just play in the corners and you'll get a double chance to win. If conversely your opponent marks a corner on their first turn and doesn't make any mistakes during the game, you can only hope for a draw. First, play randomly and then protect all the spaces where they could make 3 in a row. On the other hand, if your first move is in a corner and your opponent doesn't play in the center, mark the closest corners and in 2 or 3 moves you'll have won. If your opponent doesn't respond in the center space, it's impossible to win. But if you don't make any mistakes, you'll draw 100% of the game. Finally, if your opponent starts the game, do the opposite of everything I just explained to you. Why does clothing look darker when it's wet? I mean, water isn't dark, so why does it make clothes look darker? The reason we can see fabric in the first place is because it reflects light. But when we pour water on the fabric, it becomes more translucent, and the gaps between the threads shrink. This makes the fabric absorb more light instead of reflecting it, making it look darker when it's wet.
Imagine you rob a bank and get a huge amount of money, but you have a big problem. You can't spend that money because the police will ask you where you obtained it. Since dirty bills must be laundered before spending them, this is what you must do. You open a small hamburger stand and sell some real burgers, but every day you will lie about how many burgers you have sold. Each day you will say that you sell 50 burgers, even though in reality you only sell 1. Now you add all the stolen money pretending it comes from your business. If someone asks you where you got the money, you tell them it came from your business and show the fake evidence. But if you're an idiot, sooner or later the police will notice that the numbers don't match and they'll lock you up for money laundering. If you could know everything in the world, at first it would be incredible. Just by thinking about it, you'd know every secret and every hidden truth. No one could lie to you. You'd know every answer before they even ask you. You'd discover betrayals from loved ones and what everyone really thinks of you. You'd know when your friends, your parents, and even you yourself would die. Sleeping would be impossible. The voices, the data, everyone's thoughts would haunt you day and night. You would go crazy and be unable to endure so much knowledge. You would have to clear your mind and meditate so you wouldn't die from a heart attack. One day you'd think about how to use your power, and you'd reveal secrets that would change governments, expose corrupt politicians, and prevent wars. Everyone would be afraid of you, but they would also love you. You'd become a hero and a villain at the same time, building a world in balance. If you're lost in the forest, follow these 5 rules to survive. First, don't move. The rescue team will only look for you where you were last seen, not where you might have gone. Second, look for water. You can survive 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. But before drinking it, you have to filter it. Fold your t-shirt 4 times and pour the water through it. This way you'll eliminate dirt, bugs, and bacteria. Third, signal SOS. Make 3 signals of anything repeatedly. 3 flashlight flashes, 3 loud whistles, or even 3 fires. Fourth, build a shelter. Use branches, stones, and bushes. Put it all together, and above all, make sure the roof doesn't fall down. Finally, make a fire. Rub a stick repeatedly against dry leaves on top of a log. When smoke comes out, blow on it while you keep rubbing. Fire is useful for warming up boiling water, and most importantly, attracting the attention of rescuers.
If you're going to school, but a superhero is fighting a supervillain, don't get inside the car. The superhero will use your car as a weapon, and you'll be crushed and die. If you're an idiot and you're vegan, never go into the woods. If you get lost, you will have to hunt for survival, and you'll starve to death. If you are stuck in World War III, forget about posting TikTok. The Chinese will hack your phone's location, and they'll kill you. If you don't have drinking water, use your shirt as an emergency filter. Even if the fabric doesn't kill bacteria, you will remove the mud from the water. If you get stabbed with a really big knife, do not remove it unless it is blocking an airway passage. The knife will help you not lose a lot of blood while sealing the wound. If you are being chased by a poisonous snake, stomp the ground violently with your feet. The vibrations in the ground will make it think they are a bear's footsteps, and it'll get scared. If you're attacked by a shark, kick its eyes and nose really hard with your legs. That's their weakest spot, and you will buy time to escape. If you're completely trapped inside a mall with no electricity, look for colored crayons. They will burn easily and work as candles.
If everything goes silent and a lot of animals start running aimlessly, it means an earthquake is about to start. If a car bumps your trunk lightly, don't stop the car to talk to the driver. They could be criminals who crash on purpose to steal all your money. If someone offers you a free perfume to smell on the street, cover your nose and don't breathe. It's actually chloroform to knock you unconscious and kidnap you without drawing attention. If your house starts smelling like rotten eggs for no reason, turn off all the appliances in your house. There's a gas leak, and if you light a lighter, you'll be blown to pieces. 3 totally crazy ways that criminals escape the police. A man named Richard used lip balm to free himself from his handcuffs, rubbing the lip cream on his wrists. That way, Richard managed to reduce the friction between the handcuffs and his skin. But the next criminal wasn't so smart. He escaped by leaping out the window like a madman. And this craziness actually helped him run away and fool the police. But the next escape is even more unbelievable. Richard broke out of prison again and hid in a forest, avoiding the police for hours. But a police officer found him and ordered him to stop. The criminal made up a fake name, convinced the officer he was just a regular runner, and walked off laughing as he tricked the cop.
If a single kernel of corn accidentally gets into your nose, many people think that a plant could start growing, meaning that you would literally grow a corn cob in your nose. This is obviously nonsense, but a 4-year-old kid accidentally inhaled a bean that totally got stuck in one of his nasal cavities. Since the nasal passage is a warm and moist place, it was the ideal environment for the bean to germinate. A few days later, the seed began to sprout until doctors managed to safely remove it.
If you have a motorcycle accident, do not take off your helmet by yourself. If your neck is broken, you could accidentally rip off your head. If you're walking through the jungle and see an animal with fluorescent colors, run as fast as you can. Colorful animals usually have venom that can kill you in seconds. If you want to know if a battery is charged, drop it onto a metal table. If it bounces several times, it's out of power. If you're in a public bathroom and you touch the mirror, but there's no space between your finger and the reflection, leave immediately. It's a fake mirror and someone is recording you.
In 2013, a boy injured his knee and a snail got inside the wound. But the snail egg began to hatch inside the injury, and a few days later his knee began to swell. The doctors thought that it was just a minor infection, but the antibiotics weren't healing the wound. A few days later, his mother noticed a strange black lump and decided to pop it. But to her surprise, a tiny snail calmly crawled out of his knee.
If you're stupid and you keep all your batteries in the same drawer, separate them right now. If one battery breaks, it will create a bomb and your house will explode. If there's a blackout in your city and the power goes out, don't leave your house. Thieves will take advantage of the chaos to rob and kill. If you're in a pool and the water tastes like metal, get out of there fast. A wire has short-circuited and you could die from electrocution. If you run out of gas in the middle of nowhere and have no cell service, build a fire using the tires. The smoke will be visible from miles away and firefighters will come.
You suddenly travel back in time to ancient Rome. Do this to survive. First, if you try to live a normal life, everyone will realize you don't speak Latin and don't know how to behave like them. They would think you are crazy and would want to burn you at the stake. So you will choose someone from the crowd and challenge him to a duel to the death in the Colosseum. One day before the duel, you will grab a few ingredients and make a favorite food recipe. Easy, but extremely tasty for that time. When the time comes, you take out the dish and offer it to your rival. Since he will love the food, he will offer it to the boss. In this way, the Caesar will spare your life and you will be the new Caesar.
If you get off the subway but your backpack gets stuck in the door, don't waste time trying to pull it out. Focus on slipping out of the backpack or you'll be dragged to death. If you're at the movies and a thief is recording the film, don't yell at him. Instead, on your phone, show his seat number. That way, the thief's number will be recorded and the police can arrest him. If you're getting a haircut and feel a sneeze coming, be careful and don't move. If you make a sudden move, they could cut one of your ears. If you're buying a suit for your wedding, tell the salesperson that the suit is to work as a waiter and not for your wedding. It'll be cheaper because it isn't a wedding suit. If you're lost in the mountain, look for plants and hide in a cave. If you start a fire, you won't freeze to death during the night. If you're going to school but you live in a dangerous neighborhood, put your book bag inside your shirt. Thieves will think you're fat and they won't rob you. If you're stupid and you're vegan, don't go to a barbecue with your friend. You won't be able to eat and you'll look ridiculous. If you're dying of thirst and find dirty water, look for bamboo sticks. If you filter the water through the hole of the canes, you'll have clean water.
If you live in a dangerous neighborhood, wear poor-looking clothes that are as dirty as possible. You will make the thieves pity you, and they won't rob you. If someone is looking at your phone, open the front camera. The nosy guy will see himself on the screen and will look ridiculous. If a murderer enters your house, turn off the lights and put a couple of pillows under the blanket. The murderer will think that you're sleeping, and you will catch him. If you see that your car has a broken window, don't go in and call the police. There is a homeless person living inside your car.
A man accidentally fell into boiling hot springs in 2016. The extremely hot water caused him third-degree burn, but the water also contained acid that immediately started to dissolve his skin. 5 minutes later, the heat left him too confused, and when they found him, they thought he was dead. But the water was so hot that rescuing him was impossible, so they left the body and waited for the water to cool down. Over time, the acid and extreme heat ended up completely dissolving his body, leaving only his wallet and shoes as proof.
3 things you think are illegal, but are totally legal. First, warning drivers that the police are nearby. If the police catch you and ask you to put the sign down, according to the law, it's totally legal to warn others that there are police up ahead, as long as you don't endanger other drivers. Second, riding in the back of a pickup truck. But watch out, there are countries like the United States that only allow it under certain rules, and other more boring countries like Spain, where it's completely illegal. Third, insulting a police officer. If the officer gets angry at you and tries to arrest you, the Constitution allows you to be rude to the police. Even so, you shouldn't be rude, and I recommend that you respect the police because you could end up in serious trouble.
A group of thieves tried to rob a man, but since they didn't have guns, they pulled out a snapping turtle. They waved the turtle around his face as it tried to bite the man. The thieves warned him not to move or the turtle would bite his head off. The man froze in place, while the thieves were stealing his wallet and watch, and ran off holding the thief turtle in their hands. You arrive on your first day of class and your new teacher walks in. Do this to become their favorite student. Find a seat near the teacher, but not too close, because you don't want to be the teacher's pet either. But there's a problem. The teacher doesn't know your name. When they ask the whole class a question, be the first to answer, even if you don't know the answer. A teacher always asks the name of the first student to speak. On the other hand, you want to ask them a question too, to show that you're engaged with the subject. Try to make your question a why or a how, and never a basic what is this. But above all, never ask what's the homework, because your classmates will give you a good knuckle sandwich. Lastly, after class, don't forget to do the very first homework assigned. Teachers hate students who are lazy from day one. These are the 3 craziest laws in North Korea. Number 1, it's illegal to smile or laugh during the 17th of December, because that day is the anniversary of the death of North Korea's former leader. For 10 days, it is forbidden to laugh, drink alcohol, or even go shopping. If you're caught, you will most likely disappear mysteriously. Number 2, it's also forbidden to wear jeans, sunglasses, and even wedding dresses, because they believe it's a symbol of the culture of the United States. If you're caught wearing any of these, you could go to prison for over 5 years. But the worst part is, number 3, if you break the law in North Korea, your entire family will be punished for 3 generations. That means you'll go to jail, but so will your parents and grandparents.
If you're very lost on the street and you see many kids asking for money, run far away as fast as possible. It is an old trick used by criminals to steal from you. If you're an idiot and sleep with your phone, be careful. If it gets too hot, it will explode like fire and burn your whole house. If you have leeches sucking on your body, don't take them off. They'll vomit on the wound and you'll die from diseases. If you're on a bike and you're going to fall, freeze and do absolutely nothing. The bike will keep going straight by itself due to the speed.
If a friend is lying to you, ask him a lot of questions about what he is explaining. If he starts to scratch his head, he is lying. If you're lost in the woods, quickly look for a river to bathe in. Bad smells attract bears and they'll eat you. If you get kidnapped, pee on yourself constantly. The kidnappers will get tired of the bad smell and they will free you. If you're stuck on a broken down train, break the windows using the emergency hammer. On the train, there are a lot of sick people breathing and they will contaminate you.
If you're stupid and bite your tongue while eating spicy food, run to drink lots of water. The spices burn the wound and you could lose your tongue. If you see a lot of graffiti in the same color, get out of there fast. You've entered a dangerous area controlled by a criminal gang. If a thief tries to rob you, throw your belongings as far as possible. Thieves are usually idiots and he'll forget about you. If you're gross and wet your pants while peeing, splash more water on them. People will think you just got wet while washing your hands.
If your dad drank too much, find a place to hide the car keys. If he tries to drive, he'll end up dying in a crash. If you're lost in the desert and manage to find water, use a fire to make it boil. The fire will destroy all the bacteria and it will turn into drinking water. If you have a test but you didn't prepare, stay away from coffee or energy drinks. You will be awake the whole night and you'll fall asleep during the test. If you have to cross a completely frozen river, lay on the ice and move like a worm. If you sprint across the ice, it will break and you will freeze to death.
You drop your wallet and someone steals your credit card. Here's what you do. When you realize your card is missing, you open your banking app and block it. But it's too late. The thief has already bought an iPhone, a Rolex, and a Big Mac. You rush to find your latest credit card statement and call your provider. You report the loss and ask them to deactivate the card. But what happens to the purchases that were already made? Luckily, they offer zero liability, meaning you won't have to pay for what the thief bought, and it won't affect your personal credit. Once you get a new card, update your payment method, you stop carrying all your cards with you, and you subscribe to BigDanBaby. You're on your way to school, but a thief tries to rob you. Do this to outsmart him. As you walk past the thief, check his pockets discreetly. It's very likely he's carrying a hidden weapon. On the other hand, if he pulls out a knife, don't resist. Your life is more important than a stupid phone. But what if you're carrying very valuable objects? Grab your phone and smash it on the ground. If you manage to confuse the thief, you'll buy time and be able to run. Run without looking back, go into the closest store and call the police. Then check the security cameras and report the robbery to the police, and subscribe to BigDanBaby. If you're about to fall from a great height, try jumping instead of falling to land on your feet. You'll probably break your legs, but at least you'll survive. If you're in a forest during a lightning storm, never hide under a tree. Lightning usually strikes structures that are tall and pointy. If your neighbors have been robbed and you're afraid of burglars, place a bottle in front of the door. When they enter, the bottle will break and the burglars will run away. If you nearly drowned but managed to survive, go to the doctor anyway. It's very likely you still have water in your lungs and end up drowning later.